Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. It's a scoop session with our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. People wondering where was the early in the week scoop? Well, Doogie got knocked on his ass a little bit with, I don't know, some sort of bird flu. When Doogie taps out, you know it's bad. Because he'll come on here.
It sucks. Because we got no scoops.
Although, Laura, the kids might disagree with that, Judd, but yes, pneumonia kicked my behind. I'd love to tell you it was something a little bit more exotic. You know, somehow maybe I got stuck opening some envelope that was full of anthrax or something crazy like that. But no,
now, so I'm glad it's not.
As simple as pneumonia. I still have a little bit of a lingering cough. Yeah, it's not good.
Pneumonia is serious.
Dr. Sheldon Burns. We all know Dr. Burns.
Yeah.
You are a godsend. Please, A, live forever, or at least live longer than me. B, never retire. Dr. Burns is the absolute best.
How old is Sheldon Burns now?
He's not young.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's still doing all the work out at TCO with the Timberwolves, with the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, for a while, I thought Adrian Peterson, the way he came back, because I'm sure we'll get to this, from his meniscus surgery back in 2016, I thought Adrian Peterson was the bionic man. The more I think about it, Dr. Sheldon Burns is the ultimate bionic man.
I love it. You know, I've got a doctor at my place, just an ordinary guy. Phil, ordinary doctor. Doogie, doctor to the stars.
Doogie has, he literally has the premier sports.
I'd like to thank Kevin O'Connell for coming to my house and cleaning it up. I've hired him as a mailman.
It is fantastic to have the man on speed dial, for him to know exactly what I need.
You're in Sid territory right now.
It is great. Well, you know what? You can thank Sid for that relationship way back when.
That's amazing. Well, okay, speaking of, you brought up meniscus. So JJ McCarthy, 21 years old, he opted for the long-term, not that there was an option really. I mean, it was, so tell us it's been a week since we talked to you and everything has now changed in Vikingsville here. We won't see JJ McCarthy play a regular season game now for 13 months. So this is the definition of delayed sports gratification now, Doogie.
I mean, I believe so, Phil, although they technically will need to put him on IR, which they haven't done yet. I mean, I mentioned Adrian Peterson, meniscus repair surgery, 2016, early to mid-September. He was back on the field in December. Now, I'm not suggesting JJ McCarthy is going to play week 17 or week 18, but let's just wait and see. But yeah, it absolutely stinks. Heck, I was texting with somebody close to JJ yesterday afternoon. Now, maybe this has changed in the last 14 to 16 hours, but they still can't figure out what play the injury happened on. We still don't even know that. That's the unfortunate thing. I saw the note that some people were putting out on social media, but I'm sure some of the audience hasn't seen this, that we've never in the modern draft era, 1967 on, have we seen a first-round quarterback, again, emphasis on first round, miss the entire season because of injury. It's what are the frickin' chances?
Classic.
It just absolutely stinks. I'd love to paint some sort of positive picture. Hey, I have no doubt, Phil, he'll attack the rehab in the right way. He's dealt with adversity before. He underwent thumb surgery back in high school, right? So this isn't his first time under the knife. Heck, he's into, meditating based on, some dark times when he was at IMG Academy, right? I mean, you thought everything was great. He wins a national championship at IMG, but he was away from home, right? He's dealt with enough stuff in his life that at 21 years old, the future is still incredibly bright. But I really thought at some point this year, not September 8th, certainly, but at some point this year, we would see the transition. We would see JJ McCarthy. That to me, this is very much a transition year to set up what I think can be a very successful 2025 into 2026, all the cap space they have. But part of that was, hey, let's see what JJ McCarthy can do on the field. And I get it. He'll get all the mental reps. He'll be there. He has the best people helping him rehab. I have no doubt this is a minor setback. In 5, 7, 10 years, when we're talking about JJ McCarthy, this will be, I think, in some ways a footnote. But in the moment, it absolutely stinks. I can't spin it any other way.
So there was when O'Connell got off the bus in Berea, I believe it is, Ohio, yesterday before the joint practice with Cleveland. He confirmed this and said he's going to miss the season, which I think is just being on the safe side. But he also had some interesting quotes, and I draw you to one in particular that I don't think there's any way, shape, or form he says this unless this happens, but it's a very telling quote. Quote, he's confirmed everything that I hope to see. Everybody should be excited about the fact that we've got our young franchise quarterback in the building. So to me, what this says is, hey, look, 2025, it's go time. Like we're not, essentially, I read this as we're not slowing our process down. Like he's going to be stopped, obviously. He's going to rehab Dukes, as you talked about, the mental reps. But that quote to me, which is very optimistic, but I believe it's legit, says to me, okay, he's going to miss the year, but that's not going to screw up what the original plan was, which is potentially a redshirt year. But 2025, the opener against whomever, he's starting that game, and he is going to be our quarterback from then on.
A very telling soundbite. I mean, we ran that soundbite on Channel 5 multiple times on Wednesday because, Judd, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the first time I've heard KOC use that exact verbiage.
Yes.
That he knows he has his franchise quarterback.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that was the monster headline from yesterday. And hey, let's remember, KOC, quarterback killer in the past. Everything I've heard from behind the scenes is KOC is being genuine when he is saying that. In fact, I'm surprised he hasn't said it earlier, but I guess maybe this moment was the exact time to spew those words. But
yeah,
everything I've heard is KOC thinks JJ McCarthy is going to be a rock star. And I don't think this injury changes that opinion in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think you can say it like that. You can't, when those guys are both healthy and sort of competing in training camp, Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy, it's hard to come out and tell the public, the media, the fans, I actually do have a favorite child, and he is JJ McCarthy. And like you have to wait until there's no competition to actually utter those words. So the timing of it makes sense. On Darnold for a second, because I've been a propagandist here the last 48 hours. I am a Darnold defender. I'm all in on JJ McCarthy and 2025 and beyond. But I'm very interested to see what this team can do in a 1-year sample of Sam Darnold. And the 33rd team came out on Twitter here, football content platform, this morning and tweeted, for the Sam Darnold truthers out there, that would be me, he went 7-6 with the Jets in 2019 with Jamison Crowder as his number one wide receiver and Adam Gase as his head coach. He started 3-0 with the Panthers in 2021 before Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Went 4-2 with the Panthers in 2022 after replacing Baker Mayfield, who was 1-5. So he took the same roster that Baker Mayfield was 1-5 with and went 4-2 in those last 6 games. And DJ Moore and Robbie Chosen each had 100,000-yard seasons with him. DJ Moore is awesome. Robbie Anderson previously, Robbie Chosen. So, I mean, no one is saying he's, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes ready to be unleashed, but the more you start to dig deeper, and even some of the stuff that Judd has scouted during these training camp practices, it's going to be 50% referendum on Sam Darnold, but also I think there's a Kevin O'Connell angle here too, that what if he can get a career season out of Sam Darnold, and then what does that mean for JJ McCarthy's prospects starting in 2025? I'm interested still, Dukes.
Oh, I'm interested. Absolutely. There's plenty of reasons to pay attention to the 2024 Vikings. Now, hey, Judd, if you were in Berea yesterday, I'm not sure that Phil would have said all that based on just everything I heard and saw. ESPN sent me a bunch of video.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. You'll have to come down to the office if you want later today. I can show you yesterday's video. They'll send me, although ESPN may not be there again today.
On Gmail.
Yeah, I need the Cleveland ABC affiliate to help me today, but that's another conversation. But anyway, and they were limited in what they could shoot, but they sent me a handful of 11-on-11 plays. Let's just say it was not a good day for Sam Darnold. Now, hey, that Browns defense is legit. But I'm with you, Phil. I mean, I do want to see when TJ Hawkinson comes back, which isn't going to be, week 1 later in the season, but optimistically, maybe sooner than we thought. Jordan Addison, hopefully that's not a long-term injury. I don't have an update on Jordan Addison. I know he was on crutches after practice yesterday. We know he's not going to practice today. I don't know if this is a multi-week injury, if it's a high ankle sprain.
That's what I'm worried about.
Which would be even many more weeks, or is it just a conventional sprain?
Yep.
I'm still waiting for clarity on the Addison situation. I have sent multiple texts. I'm waiting to hear back. And so if I get it in the moment here, I'll pass it along. But you hope with Addison eventually healthy on the field, Hawkinson, Jefferson, the best offensive line. Not that I have intimate knowledge of those Jets and Panthers offensive lines, but when I think about Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill in particular, right, the infrastructure in place, let's not discount Josh McCown. I've heard a lot of good stuff, Phil, about Josh McCown. Just the impact he's had behind the scenes. There are so many people in place to help Sam Darnold that if it doesn't work now, then I'm not sure I would bet on Sam Darnold beyond this year. Like, we need to see some sort of pulse.
He's a career backup at that point, yeah.
Well, yeah, at that point 100% career backup. But if he can show a pulse this year, then he can still have a future as a starter somewhere else. Maybe not here, but somewhere else moving forward.
Yeah, it sounds like so I actually old school went to a quick trip today to pick up the old school papers from because I couldn't go.
Did you highlight some things on there?
Yeah, I got quotes highlighted, highlights from Mark Craig's piece in the Star Tribune. Long story short, it sounds like not surprisingly, both defenses played really well. The offenses on both sides. So like Flores' defense won't get as much pub, but it played well as well yesterday. What's interesting though is Myles Garrett going against Christian Darrisaw, and it sounds like it was an ass kicking. Myles Garrett, who is the best. So
he is the best.
It's not shocking, but Darrisaw's damn good, right? So like Darnold had a bad day, but I will say there were probably reasons why. And what this comes down to, though, what I'm very curious, because O'Connell's clearly put a premium on this topic, is it sounds like the Vikings offensively got their ass kicked, like physically again. And that's sort of what O'Connell has been trying to guard against, right? And work towards this team being just more able to physically stand up. So I'm curious, like today and going into the Giants game, what we see from a physicality standpoint from the Vikings offense as a whole, especially including the offensive line.
I'm with you. I mean, heck, I thought it was interesting on Saturday that Ed Ingram played a little bit longer than some other, the presumed starters, right? I mean, it points to Ed Ingram doesn't have anything locked up.
Year 3,
in terms of that starting right guard spot. Although I had a conversation with Ed a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he claims, hey, like I got better in year 2. I plan on getting better here in year 3. It's all about me setting myself up for my second contract. But my comeback to that is, Ed, like we need to see a lot more. But it's not just.
Did you tell him that?
Ed Ingram.
You say that to him?
No, although
Coward.
I wouldn't hesitate.
Coward.
Ed and I we have good vibes. I mean, I wouldn't say it quite that directly, but I would say, hey, Ed, I do think you did get better year 2 compared to year 1, but there's still a long way to go, right? So I'm okay having that sort of back and forth with Ed because I think there's a mutual respect there. But like the idea is Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler are going to touch the ball combined 20-ish times a game. That's kind of the idea.
Sure.
22, 24. When thinking about, especially using Aaron Jones in the passing game, like the idea is to get those guys touches. Well, if you can't establish anything at the line of scrimmage, best of luck when they do actually like legitimately want to establish a running game for the first time under KOC. Best of luck if you can't be physical.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to get into some other stuff here. We'll empty out the rest of the Vikings bag. I know you've got some Twin stuff and a local TV update, which we always love on this show. But a few shout outs real quick. So on the Score North app right now through the end of the month, we are giving away a couple things. A 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV that automatically adjusts color and sharpness for your shows. That's an $1,800 value. You can register to win it in the Score North app listener rewards section. In that same area of the Score North app, we're also giving away a 4-pack of tickets to the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, which opens up in just a couple of days on Saturday, August 17th. 4-pack of tickets in the Score North app under the listener rewards section for the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. And our friends at Nicolay Law are here as the exclusive personal injury law firm of Score North podcast. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, something unexpected happens, your life can get turned upside down. They come in with a calming presence, and Russell Nicolay and his incredible team are here to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Can we go on to the fringes of the roster here, Doogs? Judd did his 3.0 53-man projection a couple days ago on Purple Daily. We've got our Mr. Mankato rankings. Are you hearing anything about various undrafted free agents or maybe late round picks, positively or negatively? Any info or intel or observations that stand out toward the bottom of the roster right now?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the Gabriel Murphy injury, I was led to believe was supposed to be short term, and he's not even in Cleveland. So you think about the great start to camp, which carried over from how he looked in rookie mini camp, OTAs, regular mini camp, how excited they were to get the undrafted pass rusher out of UCLA, that I'm still shocked he wasn't a 4th or 5th round draft pick or even a 6th or 7th. The Vikings pay him, a healthy 6 figures. They signed him immediately after the draft. Well,
no.
He's not even in Cleveland. So it's like, okay, what the heck is going on with Gabriel Murphy? On the positive side, the cornerback who played at Arkansas, who played at LSU, Dwight McLaughlin, you continue to hear good things about him. Now, they might be able to get him through waivers, so he might be more practice squad, but they want him around. That's a guy they absolutely want to develop. I mean, Mr. Mankato has to be Jalen Naylor, right? I mean, to me, it's, what are the odds, Phil?
Heavy favorite.
2? I mean,
heavy favorite.
He has to be a heavy favorite, right? I mean, I don't even know who's number 2 at this point.
Was he practicing yesterday? Because there was a tweet at one point that it was Tristan Jackson with the first team and Brandon Powell along with Jefferson.
Well, I will tell you, the video that I saw, Judd,
yes,
it was those 2.
Okay.
And I saw plenty of Jefferson. I saw Addison before he departed. I did not see 83.
We got to comb through that film.
That doesn't mean a whole lot when I'm here, not physically there. I did not.
I've not seen a note about it.
I was sent though.
In all of the papers I bought, I have not seen a note that he missed it. So I'm just.
How many papers did you buy?
Bought both papers. Bought the Star Tribune, Pioneer Press.
Everyone's. How many pages is the Pioneer Press?
I will send a text right now. Let me see.
12.
12. The whole thing.
Look, Dan Mizutani does a great job. Those guys.
I agree, dude. I'm not ripping John Shipley.
I'm laying on the track.
My
Shipley,
guys.
Jace, Andy Greeter, Dane.
I'll tell you what. John Shipley and I, when we covered the Twins 10, 12 years ago, we would make drives across the state of Florida together, listening to Yacht Rock.
Ship's a grinder,
dude. He's a lifer, man.
So I love those guys.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're sending a text on that?
I am sending a text on that.
Yeah. What is the latest behind the scenes that you've heard on Stephon Gilmore? O'Connell confirmed Monday he did come in for a visit. They showed him the culture that around the building. It sounds like he left. Is this Dalton Reisner visit 2.0 from last year, do you think?
Real quick, Jalen Naylor did practice yesterday. There's video from the Vikings social media. 83 catching passes against Cleveland.
Good. Okay. I mean, I was unaware of any sort of
me too
injury. Although, heck, I wasn't aware of a JJ McCarthy injury. Right, coming off the game on Saturday, then the night practice Monday. I guess we knew before Monday night on JJ. Jalen was out there Monday night, so I guess if anything had happened, but I was unaware of anything taking place. So good. Thank you for the sleuthing work there, Phil. And so you were asking Judd about Gilmore. And it's on the player. I'm led to believe the Vikings are willing to compensate him pretty darn well. The Vikings want him. They have made that clear. Mm-hmm. So it's now on the player. It's now on Gilmore to say, yes, I am ready to be a Viking. So I can't necessarily compensate for the Gilmore side. Okay, are they weighing other options? Is he going to take another visit? Is he looking for maybe a ready-made Super Bowl contender, a team that looks like a more legitimate playoff contender minimum? Forget Super Bowl. That gets a little dicey. I mean, a lot of teams can feel like they can win the Super Bowl here in August, but Like the Vikings, like we talked about it, transition type year. If you're Gilmore, about to be 34 in September, like, do you want to sign a 1-year deal here in Minnesota and play for a team that I believe won't be a playoff team? Not rock bottom, but not be a playoff team? Or are you looking for a different situation? So I'll work on trying to, figure out the Gilmore side, but I'm led to believe, Judd, the Vikings want him. The Vikings have made that very clear. And I don't know the exact monetary figure, but they're willing to pay him a good amount of money.
Okay.
Yeah. Just maybe we can do this exercise on Purple Daily, like as a lead topic at some point, but just for fun. How good do you guys think if let's say Stephon Gilmore jumps on board and you've got a little more stability in that cornerback room, and let's assume Jordan Addison, it's not a serious injury. How good do you think this roster is? Like, to me, there's a little bit of a 2008 Vikings vibe where if you just had a high-end top 5 quarterback, this team would go from 7-win projection to 10, 11 wins. Like if you put Joe Burrow as the quarterback of this team, or you pick your top 5 or 6 quarterback. Are they a top 5 or 6 quarterback away from being
Joe
a top
Burrow?
4?
Yes. Yeah.
I know, but you couldn't. But if you put Joe Burrow on the Panthers, that's not a Super Bowl contender.
No.
If you put Joe Burrow on the Patriots, that's not a Super Bowl contender. But if you put a top 5 quarterback on this team right now, they're one of the 3 or 4 favorites to win the whole thing. Is that a hot take?
No, I don't think it's a hot take, but like if you put Joe Burrow on the New Orleans Saints, I think we can have the same conversation. There's a handful of teams. The New York Giants. If you put Joe Burrow on the New York Giants, speaking of the week 1 opponent, I think we're talking about a team in that capacity. But sure, I think there's a belief that, hey, the Brian Flores defense was good last year, but it's going to be better this year. Yeah, okay. This is assuming that maybe the Gilmore deal gets done, which at this point we don't know, that they still have a need for a cornerback. They still have a need for a good interior defensive lineman, but that they can compensate for those spots, that this defense should be pretty darn good. Then we're talking about the best receiver in the game, or at least one of, if you want to say Tyreek Hill or someone else, fine. But you have Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison, who is really good. TJ Hawkinson should be back week 4, 5, 6. Is it before London, after the bye? But he's going to be back. You love the left tackle. You love the right tackle. Yeah, there's a good amount to like. That is probably the difference, Phil, between 7 wins, which I think that's what they're going to end up with. Like I'm saying right now, 7 and 10. But yeah, if you had Joe Burrow, yeah, we're talking minimum, I think 10 and 7, if not more wins than that. So yeah, to me, that is the difference between playoffs and not playoffs. Speaking
of 2008, though, I think the question here is, can Sam Darnold be Gus Frerotte?
Because they did make the playoffs in 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they went back to Tavares when he got healthy, and that was a stupid mistake that we all talked about. But, Gus Frerotte, so they in 2008, they got off to an 0-2 start. I believe they lost to like the Dolphins and Colts, or 0-3 start. And then they made the switch to Gus, and Gus came in, and until he fractured his back against Detroit at Ford Field, he played really well. And, he got them by. He wasn't great. He was not a Pro Bowl player, but he did just enough. And they had the guts of a good team. And that paid off in 2009, clearly, when Brett Favre joined. So that's my question. Can this be a fringe? Can Sam Darnold play well enough to make them a fringe playoff team? Not asking for the world, but can you be competitive consistently?
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily ruling it out. I still think it's the weaker of the 2 conferences, even though I think the NFC is better now.
I tend to agree with you, Dukes. I'm just saying I don't know. Year.
I mean, I'm not saying no.
Right.
But if you're asking me right now, okay, bet one side or the other. I'm just telling you right now, I would say non-playoff team.
Yeah. Hey, let's go through the rest of your scoop bag here. You got some Twin stuff. You got a local TV nugget for us. So take
a couple
us
other
through
Vikings notes. I mean, I was asked. I mean, maybe it seems very logical, but I'll put it out there anyway. I was asked with Matthew Judon going from the Patriots to the Falcons, were the Vikings in it all on Judon? The answer is no. It's not a position of need. It still blows my mind that Atlanta passed on Dallas Turner.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's still, like, I can't wrap my arms around what Atlanta did.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Giving up a 3rd-round pick for a premier edge rusher and having your quarterback of the future, it makes the drafting, the logic of that move, drafting Penix. Okay, it to me, it like you can dissipate the criticism because they did add an edge rusher using draft capital.
Except the more I think about this move, Dukes, here's what's weird. Okay, so if you're the Falcons and you're like, a year ago we got stuck, right? We had Taylor, Heineke, and Ritter, and it was just a disaster. So now we're going to have Kirk Cousins and our QB of the future. Why wouldn't you have taken McCarthy, who's 21? You took Penix, who, if you sit him for a few years, is now what, 27? Like, he's not a kid. It's all very strange. I think I would have taken McCarthy at 8 and said, okay, kid, you're 21, you got plenty of time. Instead, they took a guy who's had knee problems. Now, at that point in time, we didn't know that McCarthy was going to get hurt, clearly. But you also took a guy who's not young. I think I would have taken the kid, the 21-year-old.
Well, I would have taken the kid too, but clearly Atlanta preferred Penix, right? It came down to that. They feel like even at 27, he can be a quarterback at 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Like, we can think about 7-8 years, if not longer, of Penix when we move on. Unless from Kirk Cousins, that they prefer Michael Penix long term over JJ McCarthy. But yeah, sure, I would have taken McCarthy over Penix. But I still, like, in the moment, that was a first guess, and now making the Judon move, I'm like, why didn't they just take Dallas Turner? They'll need to pay Judon. He's in the final year of his contract, you would think. Mm-hmm. Now, who knows? Maybe not, but you would think a contract is coming, an extension for Judon. But nonetheless, the Vikings were not in on Judon. There is an interior defensive lineman now out there. The Dolphins let go Tier Tart, who the Vikings had kicked the tires on. Heck, he's a Drew Rosenhaus client. Think about all the moves the Vikings have made with Drew Rosenhaus going back to March. Van Ginkel and Grenard and Jones. Heck, Bobby McCain, is he a Rosenhaus guy? Might be. The Christian Darrisaw extension, right? The Vikings are kumbaya with Drew Rosenhaus, the Rosenhaus agency. So Tart is a client of the Rosenhaus agency, but so far I have not heard any steam on that front. Plus, you wonder why. Like, there were rumblings in Tennessee last year, right? Productive player, but, some other red flags, and then he goes to Miami, doesn't get paid, takes a pretty minimal type deal. The Dolphins cut the cord. Why did they cut the cord so early? He'll land somewhere. I have no doubt about that, but I've not heard of any Vikings team. But yeah, Phil, if you want to move on to Twins now, we certainly can.
Let's do it. Yeah, we got Twins. So the Twins wind up, they lose yesterday, but they wind up with a 4-3 record against Cleveland and the Royals over the past week or so. Now, Cleveland had just swept the Cubs, so the Twins actually lost ground by taking 2 or 3 from the Royals in the division. But a good week. What are some things you're hearing on the Twins front? Correa, got to get him back at some point. Zebby Matthews, man, the Zebmeister. The Zebster.
Zebinator.
All right, you want me to just
Playoff
go through all my notes
bound.
I wrote down on the Twins, and then you can react to whatever the heck you want to react to?
Oh, yeah, let's get it.
All right.
Talk dirty.
First one I wrote down, Joe Ryan. Second opinion coming today. Flying out to Los Angeles. Dr. Neil. Is it pronounced Elatrash? Team doctor for the Dodgers.
Oh.
How do you spell it? He's the one who did the Karl Anthony Towns surgery back in March. He's a knee guy, an elbow guy, a shoulder guy.
Elatrash, yeah. He is
Elatrash.
He is basically the new Frank Jobe.
Yes.
He's
and
everywhere.
So that's who Joe Ryan is going to go see today for a second opinion. Here's what's crazy on the Joe Ryan situation. The next day, after everything took place, he removes himself from that start last week at Wrigley Field. He didn't think he was going. He woke up the next morning thinking he was not even going to miss a start. He still feels fine. But clearly we know he's got this teres major strain. And so Dr. Neal is going to take a look at it today, offer a second opinion, which might mirror what the Twins have said, that, hey, you're going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, that this could, in fact, be a season-ending injury. But we'll get more clarity later today when Joe heads out to L.A. for that second opinion.
Dukes, is this to potentially say that the recovery is quicker, or is this potentially to say it needs surgical repair?
Well, it could go either way, right? I mean, there isn't a belief that he needs surgery. I'll put it that way. But is it possible that Dr. Neal discovers
Dr. Neal
something?
could be like, no, it does need surgery.
Sure. But like everything I've heard is there's not a belief that surgery is needed.
Okay.
So I would lean more to your inquiry, more optimistically, that, hey, maybe he could be back sometime in mid to late September, that maybe this isn't a season-ending injury. But again, let's see what Dr. Neal decides. I don't want to, even though it's reckless speculation Thursday, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole until I hear what takes place with this doctor visit today. You mentioned Carlos Correa. They're still trying to figure out the shoes or the shoe for the right foot. And there still is discomfort when he runs in a straight line. So, like he told me the other day, if I had told him on July 13th, soon after he experienced the pain in San Francisco, that, hey, we'd be talking here on August 13th or August 15th now, that you're still not back in the lineup, he would have told me, you're freaking nuts. But here we are, that they still can't figure this thing out. There's a sponsorship issue, right? I mean, he gets paid a lot of money. He's a Nike guy, right? And
so what's the problem?
Still trying to figure out the shoe. You can't make it up, seriously.
Is there like a Nike shoe that is comfortable, but he won't wear it because he is not a Nike guy?
No,
like
he is a Nike guy.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you would think Nike can come up with the shoe, but
yeah.
As of the other day, they were still trying to figure out the shoe situation. And there's not even a guarantee that once they figure out the shoe, like he's going to have to play through some level of pain the rest of the season. So what is tolerable? What isn't? But like we still don't have a firm start date on that rehab assignment. Like at this point, when you've missed a month, he'll need to go get some at-bats, whether it's with St. Paul or somewhere else. That's going to need to happen. We still don't have a definitive start date on a rehab assignment. So it's sort of a wait and see, but there's been a good amount of frustration behind the scenes. Louis Varland optioned, so I don't know what the corresponding move is, but Louis Varland heading back to St. Paul after that start yesterday. Byron Buxton received a cortisone shot. I don't think this has been reported.
Okay.
So cortisone shot for Byron Buxton, and he won't be in the lineup tonight in Texas. In fact, I'm not even sure he traveled to Texas. But regardless, he could hop on an airplane if he feels better later today. He could hop on an airplane tomorrow morning, right? I mean, it's not that hard to get down to Dallas, to the Arlington area. But like cortisone shot, you wonder at this point, is he headed for another IL stint, right? I mean, you can retro it, and so 10 days, would that make sense just to get this hip right, miss the entire road trip, maybe be back, next homestand? We'll wait and see on that, see how he feels. But do know that Byron Buxton received a cortisone shot. You mentioned Zebby Matthews. Here's what's crazy about Zebby. When he gets drafted a couple years ago, he didn't even have representation. Like, didn't even have an agent.
Wow.
Now he does. He's with Creative Arts Agency, so he's with a big agency. But in that moment, like, he didn't even think he was going to go as high as he did. So just a credit to Sean Johnson, others with the Twins that discovered him, that helped develop him. He looks like the real deal. I mean, I saw his CHS Field debut a few weeks ago. Yeah, the Royals AAA affiliate lit him up, hit some balls hard, but he had 15 swings and misses that start. Like, he throws strikes. There's a lot to like about Zebby Matthews. So with this Louis Varland news, I imagine Zebby Matthews makes a start. What day would it be, Phil? Would it be Sunday in Texas or Monday in San Diego?
Are they off? When do they? Is it for Fridays their next game? Are they off today?
No,
they're
game
playing
tonight in Texas. Yeah, they're on a long streak right now of games. I mean, that's something they're trying to navigate. Is they don't have an off day until this time next week. This is a long stretch of games.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, he's gonna be in line then to pitch Sunday. So probably
Sunday,
game 3 against the Yankees in the wild card round.
I think the Yankees win the American League East. I think it's Twins-Orioles in the first round.
Okay. Is Zebby Matt right now, gun to the head? Let's say it's Ober and Lopez are your first 2 starters and some more.
Gun to my head. Okay, all right.
This is a crazy situation, Doogie, where you're being
held
hostage.
My life is at stake.
Pneumonia and now a gun to your head. It's been a really bad year.
Who's your game 3 starter right now?
All right, so game 1 is Bailey.
Game 2, let's say Pablo.
I'd love to tell you Joe Ryan is okay, but
let's
say it's not
off
Joe.
the table. It's probably Simeon Woods Richardson. It's probably Simeon Woods Richardson.
But what if
Zebby
continues to pitch well, man?
Dude,
he looks the part.
I'm not ruling out Zebby.
He looks the part.
I'm not ready to tell you it's 100% Simeon Woods Richardson. Heck, you don't think the Guardians are having these same conversations? Now that Matthew Boyd is back, he looked good the other day. Alex Cobb was good last night.
Alex Cobb, dude.
I mean, if you think about the Guardians,
that was his first start here last week.
Williams, is Lively their game 3 starter? Or is it Boyd? Or is it Cobb? The Guardians are having these same conversations, or Guardians fans, pundits, all that, having the same conversation. It's a good question, Phil. I'm just saying I wouldn't rule out Zebby. I love his stuff.
Yeah.
I do. I would put Zebby ahead of Fester right now.
Yeah, I would too. And we'll see what happens. Hey, give us the local TV update, and then we gotta piece out of here in a second.
Sure. Well, 2 more Twins notes. I was told not to bet on Rich Hill. So I guess I could have told you Rich Hill, but I was told not to bet on Rich Hill landing here.
Okay.
I don't know where he lands, if he lands somewhere, but I was told not to bet on Rich Hill, even though him and Hot Rod, the Twins equipment guy, are buddies. I don't think Rich Hill is signing somewhere because of the equipment guy. So I was told not to bet on Rich Hill coming back.
Hot Rod's great, by the way,
Minnesota. Too. Hot Rod is fine. Yeah,
Hot Rod's top notch. Phil knows that. Top notch.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think Rich Hill is choosing a team based on a tight relationship with the equipment manager. One other Twins note left over from late last week, they were in heavily on Michael Kopech, the White Sox reliever, before he went off to the LA Dodgers. Maybe you guys brought that up on the Twins show. But, they couldn't get Dylan Cease in March. They tried on Fedde. They tried on Kopech. They tried on a lefty reliever that the White Sox traded to Philadelphia. Maybe it's time to realize, if you're the Twins, yes, there is something to be said about the White Sox not being big fans of doing in-division trades. So stop trying so hard with the White Sox. That's where they should have tried harder on a guy like Trevor Rogers, but they were not in on Trevor Rogers. Judd, I know you wanted Michael Lorenzen. I'm okay. I don't like Michael Lorenzen. But the Twins were not in on Michael Lorenzen. But, maybe they tried too hard with the White Sox, knowing that the end game was going to be this, that the White Sox weren't going to strike a deal in division with the Twins. But nonetheless, the Twins were very interested in Michael Kopech. Okay, here's the local TV note. So the Wild have 1 year left on their TV contract. The Wolves have 2 years left on their TV contract. We know the Twins situation. It's a bit of a standby situation, but let's just say all 3 organizations have had talks. And hey, speaking of going down a rabbit hole, this begs a much deeper dive at some point. But let's just say multiple TV outlets in town have had conversations with all 3 organizations. Mm-hmm. If that judge at some point declares that Diamond Sports is no longer an entity, Diamond Sports is no longer a thing, it is going to be a crazy 2 to 3 week stretch. Mm-hmm. There are going to be a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, a lot of people here in town interested in carrying Wild and Wolves games. Put it that way, because Twins season almost over. We have clarity on what the Twins TV situation will look like for the rest of this season, but there's still some open-endedness on what does the Wild TV situation look like? What does the Wolves TV situation look like? So I'm telling you, we need to wait on the judge, but let's just say there's been a good amount of conversations and multiple TV outlets in town are ready to strike if that judge says, hey, Diamond Sports, you're done. You're no longer a thing.
Interesting. Now that hearing with a judge in Houston who's been presiding over the bankruptcy case since day one, everything's always pushed back. So there was supposed to be a hearing in late July. That got pushed back again because to tell people again, the judge's goal is to keep Diamond in business, not to kill them. Unfortunately, I'd like to see him killed. But so that date that Doogs is talking about has now, I don't know what the date was reset at. It's been pushed back. The other thing that we're seeing is teams are doing a combined version now of over-the-air free games. So let's say they went to Fox 9 Plus, 45, and streaming. And then what they're going to make their money off of is streaming, but they're still keeping their games available for now. I'm sure that eventually will end at some point in time too, as we progress. So yes, this is a incredibly interesting time. The Dallas Stars, for instance, went to their own streaming platform because they bailed off Bally Sports Southwest, for instance. So
Yes,
really
just
interesting stuff.
An interesting situation to monitor that, hey, it impacts a lot of us. And yeah, it's been dragged through the mud. There might be some fatigue, but I think it's healthy to still talk about it. But until we have full clarity on the future of Diamond Sports, it's hard for these local TV outlets to react.
Yeah. Interesting
but
times
they're ready.
ahead.
Put it that way. They are very much ready.
Yeah.
Great stuff,
Interesting times ahead.
Appreciate the update.
Doogs,
Really good job.
glad you're back healthy. We'll see you again next week, sir.
Okay, sounds good, boys. Take
See
it
you,
easy.
Darren.
There he is, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. On the Twins, real quick, you can get tickets to the next homestand, which is going to be, I think, a pretty long one in like a week when they come back to town. 612 Saturday, $6 beers, $1 snacks, $2 food, and Sunday Kids Days at the ballpark at Target Field, the best bar in the Twin Cities. For my
And run the
money,
bases.
Target Field.
Kids Sundays can run the bases after games. It's great.
The sports dad can
They
go
get
down
out
there and
they
run the bases with his
No,
sports
Sports
children.
Dad's too old for that.
Twins.com/tickets. Twins.com/tickets.